We're going to take a deep dive from the beginning into a spiritual fact of existence that all the mystics, you ever read their writings, or maybe you have a grandmom that's kind of way out there and all love and you trust with everything at every time, and with a gentle hand and a kind word, and such are the spiritual of this world. But they're not in the world. When Jesus said, you know, you're not of the world, it meant you're not of the world. I'll use myself, which I don't like to do, but it works because I am one of millions and millions of spiritual people that I've known in my life. And we're not here. To hit the point from the outset is the world is an illusion. And if you're not a spiritual person, those words sound way out there. They're not. Was there a movie with Keanu Reeves, the guy that played the Buddha? Was it like the world was a construct or whatever, like a computer generated, whatever. And in all, and that's true. But it's so much more mystical and wonderful and beautiful than that. It's not a movie. It's not here. I'll say this as one person who's experienced those unimaginable mystical experiences of God, and say that to be deposited here in this, what is called the illusion in all mystical traditions, in this place, it took 20 minutes from heaven, but there's no space or time to get it's like being in a subatomic particle, and infinitely less than that. This isn't from a book. This is my personal experience. This really is crazy here. And everything about it, everything you've ever experienced or known, or names or places or circumstances, is the devil. And not to be upset about it. If you're mystical, you just don't care. So my friend Annette here, she's a mystic and she works in the middle of downtown, the city hall all day, but no one knows she's not here. She knows. God knows. I know. Her pets know, and everyone with a kind heart worships her because she's not here. In other words, you're just kindness. All you leave is kindness. You walk down the street, you're just throwing rose petals around. Elaborating upon the point of this being a construct, of being the devil, it actually is the literal devil. And I say that with joy. I'm laughing because I'm a spiritual teacher, so I'm trying to share something that is not a big deal to know to me or any of my dear friends, whether from anywhere, who are mystically imbued and kind, who have big giant hearts. My mom had this. It's just a kindness. And you're not really here. The world is lighter than air, and you look through it, it's like this diffuse light. There's a softness to it, and an elegance, and a divinity. And the point of the world being the illusion or being the devil is that everything, because of that, everything you've ever experienced, I've ever experienced in my life, and there have been very, very horrible things. I've experienced whatever there is out there, I have been going through it, and many times in the worst way, and making me guilty of this or that, the other, when you're just, guilty without wanting to be and innocent without knowing. You're just trapped. The world is a trap, and everyone who ever lived here, everyone goes through this. We all have little things in the back of our head, that we did this or that, or we were unfaithful to whatever, whoever. Let it go. It's to the degree that it would help us later on to come to understanding. I've gone through horrible things with people, because one time a psychoanalyst told a girlfriend that this or that. I'm like, this is not even a spiritual person, and made me judge her. So what did I do? I didn't go after a little creep. I just thought about it, and as a mystic, so now I know more about that particular so-called science than anybody in the world today. Anybody. Because I looked at it. What did he do wrong? I had a buddy who was great shrink, and I asked him, and he called it failed help syndrome. He said they didn't have the tools, so they just blamed or worked on or sent letters to people, to the employer or whatever. And how can you help people in any way if you're not spiritual? If you don't, there's a God. How can you help people with anything? So that's the mystical point of view. The world really isn't here, and everything in it aims to slam you in some way and make you put the brakes on the ardent fever you have in your heart to fix, to lift, to heal, to help, to learn, to improve everything and everyone around you, because that's all we ever think about as spiritual personages in this world that's not really here. We just want to lift. My buddy, my friends, I want everyone to be successful. And in the world, I mean, even if you're a Napoleon Bonaparte, who I have no consideration for, whatever, but he knew that he had to let an army travel on its belly. You know, like you have to feed, clothe, you have rations, you have armament, you have to make your people happy. It's the same with a family. A dad doesn't have to be happy at all. He just has to stay at work. He has to work. He doesn't, and that's what he needs. The mom has to show love and support and care, and the dad just wants to work because that's in his nature, to provide, to give. And so all of us who are spiritual have that. At the same time, we have a big loving heart and a kind word for everyone all the time. But the kind word isn't about what a nice person, it's a teaching, it's a benediction, it's a gift, it's a commandment. And I commend you to love one another. We are mystical presences. And if you know that everything that ever happened, take the guilt out of it, the remorse, how am I going to repay or whatever, you've been set up by everything. Like that Keanu Reeves movie, whatever it was about, that the world was a construct. It's true. And God has moved us all in such a way. I explained some of my traumas, and they've been enormous, and it's all set up, and I can't look back and say, why didn't God protect me from that? Those were the areas where I got the most good out of it, the most powerful weaponry spiritually to help my friends and loved ones over the years later on, because I learned from it how to pull my friends and loved ones out of the burning fires of misapprehension, of faithlessness. We have to have absolute faith in God, and God will walk us through anything and everything, literally through fires. Once we understand the truth of this message today, that there's nothing wrong with us. There's everything right with us. Step away from the apparition, from the construct, and you'll just be in this heavenly abode. It's quite nice. It's quite natural. More than anything, it's quite you. Isn't it you? All the experiences of Jesus Christ, Gautama Buddha, the great saints we've ever read about, or the presences we've felt in our life, and all of us, no matter who we are, even the evil ones have felt things, because God doesn't stop being God just because people choose to be idiotic and self-serving. You give yourself away, and that's what the Buddha called this emptiness, it's nirvana, which is nothing. It's an emptiness of thought, consideration, or experience. But it's the effulgence, the fullness of the Buddha nature, which is an infinite quiet. But there's a purity and an ecstasy and a happiness to that quiet, and you're everywhere throughout the universe instantly. But the universe is a very compact and happy and free-flowing place, spiritually speaking. Not the world or the star systems or the cosmos. That's the construct. I remember reading Alfred North Whitehead and all these great philosophers of science. And when I was 9 years old, my dad had those books in the living room for some reason, and I would look through them, and it was the first joy I ever had spiritually, the first time I recognized my destiny, because the language covered this openness, this free-flowing sense of reality. And because it was the philosophy of science, but these are great scientists, including Einstein and so forth, it captured the wording of it. It was like the greatest spiritual book I ever read. It was The Space Odyssey. What was his name? Arthur C. Clarke. And because the last 4 or 5 chapters in that book it was the first time I saw language that began to touch the enormity of what spiritual experience truly is, or what I experienced. So I say it took 20 minutes to get here, already in heaven, already illumined all my life, but let myself go to heaven, not me, just it is. There's no choice, there's no God or you, and yet there's God and you, but it's no possible wording for that kind of unimaginable kindness and purity and decency. And that's why a lot of these classes we talk about our mom, who gives her very breath for you to be happy, to be protected, to succeed. And your dad just stands there. He's not going to move until you got all the lessons done, and your mom sits down happy. It's over. We've done the right thing. And then they pass on. And I think I can say right now, I feel my mom, my dad, Jessica's mom and dad, certainly Greg's mom and dad, and Rob and Annette. I feel all your parents. I feel everything and everyone all the time. And this is what we all experience as spiritual beings. And yet we walk through this tragedy day and night trying to lift our fellow citizens out of the drudgery of believing that life is this harsh sacrilege that we see through the day and night of our lives. And I'm saying awake quietly, softly, and move into the night peacefully, courageously. And God is in your heart. Your heart is God. And who is this God we speak of? Words fail for the unending purity and simplicity and kindness. And that's why we'll say our mom or our kitten or our puppy. That begins. We said in the last class that if you're looking to understand God, you don't look for someone as a solver of riddles. Why this or why that? You look in the eyes of your children at play. And then that's the sense we're looking for. That's what we're discussing. Pardon the word, but it's infinite, delicate kindness to it, and wisdom. And you're never taken in by this world system that is the devil, that is the construct. And it's a conscious beast, and so when the devil appears to me in certain ways where it's so cornered it can't get away, and then it shows its face for the first time ever, and but it only lasts a split second because it's a fear-based existence, as is the entire world. And if you have faith, you can walk through fires. There's nothing to fear. I command you to light. There's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing right with you. It's just this openness. And you're never taken in by the construct. You're just aware of it without reacting. And your mind will become so pure, so wondrous. You'll help, you'll heal all your friends and loved ones. You'll always be on the lookout for someone with an open heart. And you'll pour divine honey into that heart. And the next one, and the next. And those after that. You're born free and whole and true and kind and real. And that kindness is more powerful than wooden ships, iron things, words, places. Your kindness is God. There's no more powerful weapon in the end of time than a kind heart. They're the words of a young lady, Anne Frank. It's the most powerful weapon of all, a kind heart. So we sit quietly, kindly, peacefully, freely, and drift off onto the endless, the purity, the presence that is your body. The infinite presence of God is your body. It's not for someone else, it's yours. You own everything that God is. You have all these gifts and powers. Appreciate them. And you'll see how deafening the clamor will be around you when you admit this to yourself, and then enjoy that, because that's the devil being shook up, and like smile freely and sweetly and keep moving down along the boulevard, and everything will disappear around you and you'll be in heaven. You're made of light and kindness and joy and sweetness and purity, and a kind of power that lovers have dreamt, dreamers have envisioned. It's your power. It's your wisdom, your understanding. You're not going to change anything. You're going to let everything go. And you're going to give this confidence to your friends, your loved ones, your family, especially to your mom and your puppy. You are a great soul. You will fulfill your spiritual destiny. When it's really hard on you out there, sit back quietly at night and figure out exactly what happened, why it happened, and what part of the illusion was trying to smack you in the face, and you'll become very wise, very intelligent. I knew more about certain sciences and things when I was young because of what I went through. And I looked at it in a more mystical light and dropped it and dropped it and dropped it. Now there's nothing to understand, nothing to know, to perceive. For me, I don't have any doubts. I never did, but I'd have to learn this or that, and God allowed certain things at different times, like that was the beginning of this talk today, because that would help me communicate. So you're a teacher, so figure out a way for you to communicate. My friend Annette does it through the purest heart and thought process I've ever seen. I'm always shocked. She had a big giant dog, Maverick, that was tied up on a leash out back. It was a champion giant, one of them rough looking dogs, and it was tied up in the back for 12 years in a yard, treated like garbage. And she discovered at someone's death, and she took it home, and within 2 years it was the beautiful champion it should be. But she had to carry it around from bed to this to that to fix it. In the end, it was very healthy and powerful, and that's who she is. So if she can do that, we can change the world, can't we? Can't we, boys and girls? I command you to love your neighbor as yourself. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sculptor. Thank you.